In men and women are actually biologically different news, the Texas governor has signed a bill that extends a ban on people participating in sports other than their biological sex to the college environment. Texas already had this law when it came to K through 12, and now says not so much for colleges either, because we've recently seen in college sports how men, when they participate in women's sports, dominate the sports in a way that's unfair to the women. Some of our more progressive lefty friends would like to pretend that men and women are not at all biologically different, which defies even the most basic understanding of biology, but that's where we are. The Texas governor, who understands basic biology, says men and women are different. Men and women should compete in sports for their respective sexes, and never the twain shall meet. So let's learn a little bit more about this. The Texas governor, Greg Abbott, signed into law a bill that bars people of one sex from participating in sports for the other sex and competing in sports that align with whatever their subjective perception of gender identity is, whatever the hell that even means in the first place. This expands a 2021 law that banned transgender sports in K through 12 school districts and some charter schools for the same reason. Abbott framed the bill, titled the Save Women Sports Act, as designed to protect female athletes from unfair competition, saying, quote, women's sports are being threatened. Some women are being forced to compete against biological men. Yep, we've seen it in college sports when it comes to swimming, when it comes to track, when it comes to wrestling. We've seen it in collegiate competition. We've seen it in Olympic competition, weightlifting in Canada and this country. We've seen it through K through 12 schools. And we've seen that, unsurprisingly, biological men, when they compete against women, tend to crush the women. As we recently saw, for example, with the women's soccer team. The national soccer team recently participated in an open competition. They were the only all-female team in the competition. And the competition was for $1 million prize that went to the winner. The female team competed against, I believe it is the 93rd ranked UK team. And it wasn't even the UK team because it was their former members, their retired members. So it wasn't even their current members. And they still lost. They lost 24-1 in the course of 3 different games. 24-1. The retired people of the 93rd ranked men's team destroyed the number 1 ranked women's team in the world because biology actually exists. Wow. Amazing. Deep. The new law, which takes effect September 1st, so very soon indeed, will allow individuals to sue any institution that allows the athletes to compete on teams that align with whatever their perspective, subjective gender identity is. And I don't even know what gender identity is anymore. I'm not even sure that gender itself is a thing at this point, because the concept seems to have lost any possible meaning. But whatever it means, if it means anything at all, it no longer is a basis to compete on a team, which is divided by sex, because that was the entire point of why we created Title IX in the first place, to make sure that women had equal opportunity in sports by creating women's sports. It was a good thing. It increased participation by women in sports like 8x. It was an 8-fold multiplier. It was good. And now the extreme lefties over here are trying to undo that because they don't believe in biology anymore. Trusted science, not such a thing, I guess, when it comes to certain ideological beliefs. Limiting these athletes' ability to participate on whatever sports team suits their fancy is, of course, a growing issue with people who are sane, otherwise known as Republicans. With Alabama enacting restrictions last month and the U.S. House passing a similar ban in April, not that, of course, Joe Biden would sign it, but at least we're trying to make some inroads and show the issue is actually important. Proponents of such restrictions have argued that the people who believe that they're women for no particular reason have a physical advantage over people who believe that they're women for a particular reason, and that these regulations give female athletes equal opportunity to compete. However, there's little research on trans college athletes. Well, not for the least of reasons, that up until 5 seconds ago, there was no such thing as a transgender college athlete. So it was a little bit hard to have studies specifically on that issue. But we do know how men and women compete. We do have lots of data about how men do sports and lots of data about how women do sports. So we don't have specific data about who men who believe they're women, how they do sports. But since they are in fact men, I think we can draw a reasonable inference. A 2017 report in the journal Sports Medicine found no direct or consistent research on these people having athletic advantage. Well, I mean, you could just use your eyes or basic common sense or any understanding of fundamental reality. But again, such concepts, I guess, are beyond such people. Opponents say the restrictions are discriminatory. Well, here's the shocker. Yes, they actually are discriminatory, but they're discriminatory for a reason, right? Discrimination literally just means to separate one thing from another. To discriminate just means you're able to pick that two things are in fact different. That's what it means to discriminate. You're able to choose. You're able to say X is different from Y. A banana is not an apple. I can discriminate because I can understand the difference between banana and apple. So yes, it's discriminatory, but it's discriminatory on a biological reality. It's not discriminatory for the basis of animus. It's not because we hate women. It's because men and women are different with different biologies and different abilities and different talents. And to say there is no difference between them is defiance of reality. It's like saying apples and bananas are the same thing, which, no, not really so much, no. They said that the SB 15 is yet another harmful attack from the anti-LGBTQ plus minus sign QA2A ampersand caret sign squiggly tilde people of the transgender Texas rights to be embraced, accept, and ability to thrive, particularly in Texas public universities and colleges. All right. That's cool. All right. The new law comes after Abbott signed the ban on gender-affirming care, which otherwise known as mutilation, and surgeries and hormone blockers, which, despite rumors to the contrary, are not something you can just inject someone with a pause that has no long-term impact on people, because that just doesn't make any sense and is also defied by reality, but never mind. So banning the surgeries and the medical treatments because they hurt people for minors in the state, making Texas the largest state in the US, which understands that biology exists and that biology and nature is real. And maybe nature's not fair, but nature is nature. And so, until we really get the ability to mutate everything with genetic manipulations, and then, we're in some sort of real world dystopia, this will continue to be a reality. Both bans are part of a larger push by the GOP across the United States to understand that science is real and that men and women are different and biology is real and we have data to prove it. And also the entire history of not only the human species, but pretty much every species since the concept of sex was invented, which was, I don't know where in evolutionary history, but it's been a hot minute since since evolution decided, what if we had sex differentiation? It's been a hot minute since evolution thought that would be a good idea. So we have some clues what it is. The ACLU has recorded over 490 bills that, says that science is real that have been introduced this session. The ACLU is very, very sad. Thus, that brings us to the end of the story of Texas recognizing reality that men and women are, in fact, different people. They are different. They're the same in a lot of ways, but they're different in some critical ways. When it comes to sports in particular, these differences are manifest, as you can see through any sort of study of people's competing times. If you look at the best women in the entire sport of whatever, and you look at their comparators compared to men, not so much. They are the best women, but not so great when it comes to looking at men. Men will destroy the women and are destroying the women in collegiate sports, Olympic sports, K through 12 sports, and college sports and everything else. And Texas says this is really, really dumb. So Texas is doing that and saying biology exists. And that, for the moment, brings us to the end of the discussion of this case.